Today we are going to be talking about frequency, manifestation, and all of this weird kind of woo-woo stuff that's been blowing up on YouTube recently. And most importantly, we are going to be talking about how it can help you make fat stacks of cash. Personally, I've never been warmed up to it. It was never my thing, and I only discovered it, I think it was in April when I picked up the book Reality Transurfing, and I never gave that book a chance. Until that point, I read it and it really helped me. And since then, I've read that book. It's a massive book and I've consumed some content here and there. And it actually has genuinely made a big difference in my life. So it would be criminal not to share this information with you. So if you're like I was, give it a chance. You might be surprised. I'm going to tell you every single piece of information that I've learned that's from this sort of space that's helped me in my business. And I said in the last video that I would try to make these videos kind of more off the cuff and I would more improvise my speech. I talk to you like I'm talking to a friend, but when I was making this video and thinking of what I was going to tell you, I managed to come up with about 25 bullet points and it's starting to look a lot like a script, but I'm going to do my best for you. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, you may have already heard that your thoughts are the most important thing there is because your thoughts affect your actions and your actions change your reality. And all of the information that I'm about to give you is how to control your thoughts. Now, the way that people in this space typically refer to it is frequency. They kind of say it's the frequency that you vibrate at. If you're on a low frequency, it's probably a feeling of guilt or shame. Those are like the lowest frequency feelings, whereas the highest frequency feelings are love, acceptance, enlightenment, authenticity, all of that. And this frequency, if you want to call it that, this energy that you vibrate at is incredibly important because if you're stuck at a low frequency for an extended period of time, it's way more than likely that you've probably stagnated or you're even going down, you're regressing. Whereas if you're in a high frequency for lots of the time, you're probably making big strides and big improvements to your life. And if you think about it, you can really feel this clearly. Imagine like after a gym session when you're really happy with yourself, how raring to go you are, how high energy you are. When I'm in a high frequency before a client call, I'm just ready. Like sometimes I literally go like this. I like flex my muscles because I'm so high energy and I'm just ready to help the person. For the last 2 weeks of my life, I've been following quite a strict schedule of waking up at 5 a.m, reading my book, going straight to the gym, basically doing everything I can to raise my frequency. And honestly, since I've been doing this, it feels like money is just coming my way. I have this abundance in my life and this raised mood that I've never had before. I used to look for this kind of masculine aggression, this energy, this confidence that I saw other men around me had, in particular men at the gym and just other influencers that I saw on the internet. They had this aura of confidence and it doesn't matter what you say to them, they wouldn't break character. They were just constantly this high energy, confident person. I've been looking for this feeling and I think this is it. This is how you achieve this feeling. And you can raise your frequency by doing what's called following the call of your conscious. It's that voice in your head that tells you, do this, go to the gym, don't stay in bed. Listening to that voice and doing what it says raises your frequency. That voice, whatever it is to you, it wants the best for you. It wants you to succeed because you'll realize that when you follow what this voice says, you feel better afterwards, even though it might be asking you to do something difficult. And in the moment for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe an hour, you feel uncomfortable. For the next 9 hours, 10 hours, you feel amazing because your frequency is raised. Yesterday, it was a bank holiday in England, which means that a lot of places are closed and the opening times are changed. And I used that as an excuse to not go to the gym in the morning. And I think it was actually closed until about 8 a.m. and I had work to do at 8 a.m, whatever. But I knew deep down in my head that this was a cope and I was just trying to get out of going to the gym if I could. And because I knew that it was a cope, I could feel myself losing this energy, this confidence throughout the day. The way that I raise my own frequency is just by doing what I say I'm going to do. Just showing up and being that person that I tell you that I am. And on Saturday, I did just that. I went to the gym when I said I was going to go, and I did a session that was particularly difficult. I pushed extra hard, and then I got home and I felt absolutely amazing. I recorded that last video, which I absolutely loved how I came across in that video. And all of a sudden, I got twice as many discovery calls booked that I normally do. So this stuff works. As much as you don't see its effects, they're definitely there. So for the next week or two, just try to focus on this frequency that you're operating at a little bit more. Listen to that voice just a little bit more than you normally would. Feel that energy that it builds up in you and see what happens. A lot of people say that all the answers to your problems are in the high frequencies, and I've found this to be true. If I'm in a low frequency and I'm trying to get work done, I get stuck on things for a long time. Sometimes it's trying to choose a title, sometimes it's trying to choose what stupid text I put in the thumbnail. If I'm in a low frequency, that takes me 20-30 minutes sometimes to think of, whereas if I'm in a high frequency, I just know. So now you know what frequency actually is, and you know the importance of being in a high frequency. Now that being said, there's a lot of things that can lower your frequency, and just showing up and making yourself proud is enough to put yourself in a high frequency, but you need to be careful of the following things. The first thing that can really lower your frequency is not buying Brian's program. Obviously I'm joking, but if you want to make tons of money by working 4 hours a day and actually be happy and be in this high frequency all the time, click the link below. I'll show you everything you have to do one-to-one. Now, the real first thing that can lower your frequency is something called pendulums. And now be careful, because this sounds a bit like woo-woo, and this really kind of triggered my bullshit detector when I started reading it. But listen to it. It's actually really important to understand this. Pendulums are energy structures. They're like a collective of energy. So a company like Microsoft is a pendulum. They have a certain agenda, they're vibrating at a certain frequency, and everyone in that energy structure has the same goal, which is to make more profit for the company. A football stadium is a great example of a pendulum. You know, I'm not really a sports fan, but when they all stand up and do the wave simultaneously all the way around the stadium, that's a perfect example. They're all kind of on the same frequency. Another thing that's a pendulum is like these ideas, right? The idea that the 9 to 5 is the way to live your life and that it's a stable thing to do. That's a pendulum, and your parents might be subscribed to that pendulum. They're vibrating at the frequency of it. And the problem with these pendulums is that they will do everything they can to survive. It's the reason people conform to society's standards, and it's the reason that anyone that stands out, anyone that starts vibrating at a different frequency, it's like that nail that stands out above everything else. It gets hammered down. And the book Reality Transurfing says that these pendulums are the source of all the problems in your life. And these pendulums, let's use the pendulum of the 9 to 5 job. The idea that working a 9 to 5 job is a good option and it's the norm. If you're trying to start your own business, your parents, your uncle, someone might be part of that pendulum. They might be subscribed to it. So he will prod you. He will create problems. He might tell you that you can't do it and try to create that seed of doubt in your head. And what happens then is you get lowered to the frequency of that pendulum. And the problem is trying to solve your problems from a low frequency state is basically pointless. It's the equivalent of being a fly banging against a window repeatedly for hours until it just dies. It's pointless. The way you can get around this and resist this is by lowering importance. Whenever you have a problem come your way, like you haven't made money this week, just lower the importance of it in your head, because then you won't let it lower your frequency. You can be in the high frequencies, which is where all of your problems can be solved. If you lower importance and don't let these pendulums lower your frequency and try to solve your problems from a high frequency, you'll find that every problem has an easy solution. You don't have to be like that fly banging against a window. You can just turn around and fly out the back door. And I actually found this to be true for my life, actually for both of my businesses. In my first channel, I chased views at the start and I put so much importance into the problem of just getting more views. At first, that was the only way I earned my money. So I thought, okay, if I want to have $10,000 a month, I need to get 10 million views a month. And that is a very big ask. That is really difficult to get. Only like the top 0.01% of channels, maybe even rarer than that, on YouTube actually make that much through YouTube AdSense. But when I finally realized what was going on, I was banging my head against that window like that fly, trying to get views, and I just turned around and stopped trying to get views. I instead made a game for my audience. I actually made a product, something to sell to my audience. I got to my $10,000 a month mark way easier than if I tried to do it through views. And actually, you think I would have learned my lesson, but the same exact thing happened on this channel. A few months ago, I was earning a couple of $1,000s a month on this channel, just mentoring some people whilst working on my main business, which is the game development thing at the time. And I thought, I need more views so I can get more clients. And I was doing the same thing. I was banging my head like that fly against the window. But then I realized I changed my offer. I lowered the importance of the views. I changed what I offer to my audience, and it solved the problem. That was way easier than trying to get my extra views for my channel. And actually, my subscribers on this channel haven't grown in months, yet my income has grown exponentially. I know when the views come, they will come. I don't actually need them, and I'm no longer chasing them. The next thing that will really lower your frequency is chasing false goals. Chasing something that is someone else's standard. Chase your own standard, not somebody else's. Make your own path. Because your heart can tell that something's off if you're just doing something because it can make you money. Making money is possible with anything, and the best thing to make money with is what your heart tells you to make money with. The highest frequency is being authentic to yourself and following your heart, following that call of your conscience. I used to think, I used to be really into the masculinity space, and I still am a little bit. I still follow some of the people on there, but I used to chase their standards. The big, fast car, loads of women and all of that was kind of like the idea of success in their mind. And I didn't feel like I fit into that because I drive a tiny little car called a Mazda MX-5, and that thing is literally the opposite of what those people think is cool. Those people also think having lots of women is cool, and I disagree with that. I've been with my girlfriend for the last 7 years, so I don't fit into that kind of image either. And I let this create a lot of internal conflict. I thought to be successful, I should follow their standards, but I knew that I didn't want to follow their standards. Fuck that. Create your own standards and people will follow. You will find your people if you create your own standards and you're authentic. And in fact, being authentic is the only way to be truly successful, because if you chase some false goals, some false standards set on you by somebody else, you will never be fulfilled and you can never reach the high frequency where all the success is found. Another concept that I learned from this space that really helped me is the following. Once you start taking the actions necessary for your success, so if you want to be a YouTuber, you obviously need to start making YouTube videos. Once you actually start taking the actions, assume it's already in the bag. Because it is. The only thing required to reach your goals is to do the actions required to reach them. So just do the actions, relax, assume it's already in the bag, because it is. Because if you have this excess desire and worry, just to give you an example, imagine how you're going to show up to your sales calls. You're going to be all shaky and worry-y, your heart might be beating. You're obviously less likely to get a close on that sales call if you show up like that with this excess worry. So all you have to do is eliminate your heart of these feelings, show up every day so that you can raise your frequency and have your own respect and show up how you actually should show up. A lot of people in that space, they say reality is a mirror, and I've actually adopted this vocabulary myself. If you just smile at the mirror and never stop smiling, in due course, it will smile back. And if you don't, you're going to sabotage yourself. You're going to make yourself angry, full of worry, and that will lower your frequency, which means you won't achieve your goals. And this is a direct quote from the book Reality Transurfing. You are so drawn into your object of desire, which is money and status, that you're literally exhausting yourself in that struggle. And that's what I was doing with my own goals. The only way to get something is to do the actions required. Let yourself go of the strong attachment. All you have to do is the actions, and then you can relax because it's already in the bag. If you exhaust yourself, this is another story from the book. If you exhaust yourself in the struggle, it's like going into a court and being anxious about not being kicked out. And if you let this anxiety take over and start waving your arms around, I don't want to be kicked out, please don't kick me out, of course you're going to get kicked out. Of course you're not going to achieve your goals. All of this stuff just scratches the surface, but everything I mentioned to you in this video, keeping these mindsets in mind has made a real difference and has genuinely multiplied my income in the last few months. So apply it and see where you end up with it. To get my personal help with making money online, otherwise you literally get your money back if you don't make money, click the link in the description. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.